It's this one. It's like COE.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Leon, he just went to his trial, so I was just handling it.
That's the bike lane.
You're going to start yours, sir?
I can get up and have a
Don't
chat.
mind us when we continue broadcasting it, do you?
Oh, you can, yeah, he did last time, he did a lovely job for it.
Oh, thank you.
Content on everything.
Content over everything!
So, now my friend covered a lot of things, and basically we are anti-feminists. I better get someone close. You're allowed to stand on the cycle track, by the way. You know, if somebody hits you, well, then don't. It's pedestrians first. So, yeah. I haven't got a crowd, so. So when are we going to get more politics spoken about at Speaker's Corner and less religion? There's always been religion spoken about at Speaker's Corner. And 2018 has been a big year for Speaker's Corner, what with a lot of the violence and global fighting on the internet and people putting up things with his hate, threats of violence and all the rest of it. Last Thursday we had not this Thursday, the Thursday before, we had a meeting with the police in the Royal Parks, which was the first time speakers have ever actually had a meeting with the police, and it's in the history of Speaker's Corner. So it was quite a special thing. Personally, I think the meeting was a little subverted by communists who tried to make out that everybody was just racist when they wanted to discuss some of the violence that we've had here. And
Sorry, just a quick question. Was there a genuine outcome of that meeting? Do you think that it was actually a good meeting to have, or because like some of the other people attended the meeting I spoke to, a lot of them reckon it was actually a waste of time because there wasn't a genuine outcome?
well, because it was a historic meeting, it was the first meeting, and we were subverted by two communists, a young one who's naive and an older one who I call the laughing clown, because I remember him being here before. And if you know anything about communism or Marxism or cultural Marxism, you'll realise they subvert everything. And he was able to tip the meeting on the head by saying the real problem here is that everybody's racist against Muslims, which is not true, because I speak to Muslim people all the time. I have leaflets to do with domestic violence that affect men, and leaflets to do with getting legal aid for men in divorce, and I've given them to Muslim people, I've given them to lots of people. So it's not about racism, it's talking about the violence that's been here in 2018, 2017 with extreme people.
Would you agree that the reason why the violence has escalated this far is due to the number of recording and the YouTube views,
Yes.
rather than anything else compared to the previous years?
Yeah, but the thing was, there's been a lot of bullying at Speaker's Corner in the last few years by more extreme Muslims who tend to attack moderate Muslims, and I've seen moderate Muslims attacked by extreme ones here. So the thing is about Speaker's Corner, you can come here and you can upset people, you can challenge people, but if someone comes here and they say you're not to talk about this and you're not to talk about that, then they shouldn't be here.
I totally agree.
And there was a court case recently where someone complained, made a court case about what someone said, and the judge said, well, basically, this is what Speaker's Corner's here, you shouldn't have been there if you don't want to have to deal with things. Hate speech, which is now, everybody says hate speech is this, that and the other, whatever you say, that goes against the norm of what our society says you can and can't say. No, that's not hate speech. Hate speech is when you point someone out and try and get the mob to hurt them, or you're saying things on a very personal level. Disagreeing with a politics, disagreeing with a religion is a different thing. This is not normally my topic. I'm an anti-feminist. And over nearly 5 years ago, when we first came here, we used to get a lot of absolute hell from people because they thought we were anti-women. Now, feminism's an ideology. Women are people like men. And a lot of our best speakers are women. And we're sick to death of the ideology of feminism, of what it's actually done to men and boys in the Western world. And Paul Elam, who's one of the great people, one of the great leaders, he's not a leader, but he's one of the great spokespeople in our movement. And he doesn't speak for people, he actually speaks for himself and for men. And he calls himself a voice for men, and now it's an ear for men where he actually speaks. And he was reading a very well-written article written by a man talking about when he was 15 and on a school roof with all his mates drinking wine and laughing and talking about their future. And this man talks about how he was absolutely ruined by going through the education system, which blames everything on boys and men and masculinity. And it says in our society, everything about masculinity is demonized. Now, so many of our school teachers are the worst examples of this. They think that men should be more like women. See, men and women complement each other. Not all men and women are like that. You get masculine women and feminine men. Nothing wrong with it.
If you look at toilets these days, they don't have
that's ridiculous.
baby changing.
There should be baby changing for both.
For male toilets, yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't have it in male toilets these days.
There's a lot of things we don't have for men, and we just overlook it. And we have a lot of issues which men face, from domestic violence, for example. A lot of people laugh when we talk about men who face domestic violence. Yeah. It's not funny.
All rape.
Yeah, all rape. We had that.
That's sexual assault under Section 4 of the sexual offences Act. Yeah. You're not allowed to.
But we have so many things. It's affecting women, not that we always go on to women, obviously, because men value women more than we value men, and women value women more than we value men. It tends to be the men at the top that we all want to value, the ones with loads of money, good looks, or big fast cars. Most men aren't like that. Most men don't have great power. Most feminists are the academic, the political feminists. Most of them are extremists. They're not nice people. They don't like men. A lot of them ape men, APE. They pretend to be masculine when they have none of the virtues of men. Most men give. Men adore women. They always have adored women. They adore their families. Men and women work together. This whole patriarchy theory, which talks about that men have held women down since the dawn of time, is a load of rubbish. It's not the case. Now, what's the term I'm looking for? Men have not exploited women since the dawn of time. Some men have, but men have been exploited as well, and a lot of women exploit men, especially in the modern divorce courts, which absolutely exploits men right down. And it's unbelievable. And the judges, they get taught about gender and domestic violence and the Duluth model, which is the base of domestic violence, and it's fraudulent, by the way, from the town of Duluth. That is where judges get to hear from these feminist academics who are experts in gender, who tell everyone about what men and women are all about. And it's rubbish. These people are extremists. The feminist lens, I call the feminist lens cap. You need a binocular. You need to see from a man's point of view and a woman's point of view. And most of these upper class women have no understanding of masculinity. They don't understand the responsibilities that men have. They don't understand the way men think, which is different. Men and women complement each other at best. And what's happened is we've had men demonized for so long, boys demonized, and now boys and men are confused, and we have MGTOW now, men going their own way. They're sick to death of women. They're sick to death of a lot of young women and the way they treat men, and they use men, and they can just treat men how they like. Now, we don't like men treating women like that, or anybody with half a brain wouldn't. You don't treat people like that. But that's justified because of the patriarchal theory saying that men have always exploited women. Men haven't. When Queen Victoria took the throne, going back onto men's privilege, only about 2 or 3% of the blinking population had the vote, and they were landowners. And women had decisions they could make as well, but they were rich women. Most people were not landowners, they were peasants. In the First World War, 44% of the men in the war did not have the vote. And they gave their lives in horrendous conditions. When the suffragettes, if you watch the movie, they say they're the heroes. They are not the heroes. The suffragists were the ones who did the legwork. And the Fawcett Society is now what's left of it, and that's actually feminist. That's basically just what the suffragettes were like. The suffragettes did not want the vote for working class women. They didn't want their maids or their cooks getting the vote. They wanted votes for women who are rich. And there was a 10-year gap between men and women of a certain age getting the vote. It's not that plain. This here says it's written by an academic talking about the biggest movement for people getting the vote was for the men getting the vote, not women. But the suffragists knew that men should get the vote first and then women are brought in. And you've got to remember, men got the vote, but they had to have conscription as well. Women never got that. But see, there's complementary differences in men and women. And men and women face different things, and there's advantages and disadvantages of being a man or a woman.
Come take over everything from your melody.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
This man's going to give a positive without bullshit.
We're here right now, I'm saying.
We're going to be talking hardcore, man.
This video. No, after we go in, innit? We
I'll
go
make
in.
sure I expose all the chocolate.
We have to go live. Is go live a real Muslim?
Go live, I think Go Live at least has the balls to say how he feels it is, man. So I've got to give him props for that.
There's no diluting the deal.
Whether he's a real Muslim, I can't really say. That's not for me to say. Alright, so can we get started?